In this Tech Talk, I am speaking with Bob Frassenei, Senior Area Manager for North America at SACMI, and we are troubleshooting some of the common challenges facing today's bakery manufacturers. Hi, Bob. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Joanie. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So, first of all, SACMI is an established company, but relatively new to the bakery market. So before we dive into some of this troubleshooting, can you just quickly get me up to speed on the company?
Sure thing. Thank you. So SACMI, the SACMI Group is the parent company. We're made up of the old Carli Montanari brand, which has been around for just over 100 years doing chocolate processing and molding lines, and then the OPM Packaging Group, which is coming up on our 50-year anniversary for doing primary, secondary packaging through many different marketplaces.
Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk about is labor. So all of manufacturing, and like you said, SACMI has quite a history in broad manufacturing as they come into the bakery sector. So when we look at labor, all of manufacturing is facing this new paradigm of labor, but it's greatly impacting bakery operations in particular. So from your experience, what do you think it's going to take to stop or at least slow down this revolving door of the workforce? And then on top of that, how can SACMI help train and even retain bakery employees?
Yeah, Joni, you're right. This new marketplace that we're in right now with labor is kind of crazy, and we do see it across all industries and spectrums. The biggest thing for us is trying to make it easier for operators. These guys, especially the younger labor force that we're seeing, they're so used to an interface that is not so much the mechanical piece of what used to be fine for labor. So we try and feed into that. When we design equipment, when we manufacture equipment, we look at those things. Okay, keep an operator in mind. If you look at our new line of flow wrappers that we've introduced, everything behind the scenes is now with the clear Lexan cover, so you can see it. It's not hidden. On top of that, we've actually put lights behind there. So if you see a red light from an operator standpoint, it's easy. You focus in on that, you go to that, and that's where it's at. So from the baker standpoint, if we can help the operator, simplify their job, make it easier for them to do, and then also get them to the trouble spots when there is trouble quicker, you minimize downtimes, higher efficiencies, higher productivity for everybody. So it's kind of a win-win. So every time we design a piece of equipment, we try and think about it from an operator standpoint so that their job, their life is easier. They don't get frustrated and they stick around.
Yeah, for sure. And I like what you said about looking at it from an operator standpoint, because that's so important for a vendor to put themselves in the user's shoes when they're developing these pieces of equipment.
Agreed. And, but also from the baker standpoint, we need to have that operator engaged with the piece of equipment, because that final product, when it's packaged, whether it be bagged or flow wrapped, from a consumer standpoint, that's their first impression of that product. So if the packaging personnel, whoever that operator is, if they're engaged and they care and they make it look as good as possible, so when it gets onto the retail shelf, that presentation is as good as it can get. So when the consumer's out shopping, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. So let's take it even a step back further and talk about sort of the baker's mindset when they're choosing the equipment to begin with. So in a bakery operation, there is a lot of consideration around single source vendors versus using multiple sources. So what's your take on the benefits of relying on a single source vendor?
We actually embrace that concept of the single source. You look at it again from the baker standpoint, when they're trying to put a line together, if they can rely on one vendor that takes all that responsibility, that takes it off of their plate and brings it on to us as the vendor. But also as the vendor, we have to recognize that sometimes we need to go out and find a third-party piece of equipment, because not every vendor has every piece of equipment to satisfy a complete line. So, we have to be able to go out, find that other piece of equipment to bring it in, and again, make it part of our scope of supply so that everything is coming out of one hand. And again, from an engineering standpoint, a lot of people don't have the engineering departments that they used to have 10, 15, 20 years ago. So we as vendors, we embrace that. We take that on as a challenge. And quite honestly, it's something that we enjoy because, yes, everybody has standard pieces of equipment. It's great to just knock out, one piece time and time and time again. But getting those special things, getting those things that are just a little bit off the beaten path, really engages the engineering team, and they really enjoy that challenge.
Okay, so that's a really good segue to my next question. And you used this phrase several times. Some bakers like it this way. Some bakers need this. So obviously, every bakery is different. And there are very distinct needs that vary from bakery to bakery. And they're based on a host of factors like the product, the layout of the operation, the workforce, and so many other things. So over the years, what have you learned about what it takes to deliver customized solutions for each bakery, especially when there are challenges out there that might be like really far out there?
Agreed. The biggest thing is to be that consultant, actually sit with a baker and learn what's important to them, what makes it tick. Because you're right, there are so many little gotchas and things that can just kind of jump out and ruin an entire project, that you really need to kind of do that due diligence and understand what challenges do they face. And again, whether it's a layout, whether it's the product, there's a lot of different constraints that can come in, but understanding all of those so that when the equipment is designed and laid out, you've kind of addressed all of those things. And if there's things that don't kind of match up, you have to have that open dialogue with the company to say, hey, okay, we can do this, and this, but here's maybe the trade-off to it.
Yeah, I have talked to so many bakers who, I'm in a bakery and I'm asking them questions, and the answer that I get to an interview question is, well, it depends on the product, or it depends on the day, or it depends on the customer. Are you seeing that bakers they need flexibility, and they really need to have vendors who can sort of adjust where needed?
Absolutely. That's a key part of the whole process, is being that flexible piece, because you're right. Every day is different for them. It's a different customer. It's a different format. It's a different product. So yes, having that dialogue and understanding that is a key piece.
Okay. So dialogue is huge for SACMI. How do you get the conversation started? What's the best way for a baker to take the first step and find out more about what you offer?
Well, we love the face-to-face meeting. So for us, we would love to have the conversation with them, start with an email, and then sit down with them in their plant and open the conversation. Because until you can see it and touch it and feel it and understand it with your own eyes, that's the biggest piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Bob, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me about some of these common challenges that are happening in bakery manufacturing right now. And it was really interesting to learn about SACMI's perspective on those challenges and also the ways that you go about solving them.
Thank you, Joanie. I appreciate the opportunity. It was great talking to you.